After nearly 4 months without a sit-down network news interview, Dementia Joe is doing an interview with hard-hitting journalist and serious newsman Jimmy Kimmel. You heard me right. Yes, this is the latest joke on the American people and the world. The President of the United States is going to sit down to do his first interview in months with a rabid, far-left former comedian and not an actual journalist from any reputable outlet or disreputable outfit for that matter. And that should tell you a hell of a lot about where we sit today. This is just how unserious Joe Biden is and his entire administration, and demonstrates once again that he is securing his legacy as the worst president in American history. I mean, once again, we are seeing new record prices for gasoline at this moment. The new record today for the national average, $4.92. It's up 5 cents from yesterday again. New records for diesel fuel, as diesel fuel soars to $5.68. So, new record prices for gasoline, diesel fuel, groceries, used cars, houses, rent, and, well, the list goes on for a long time. The American middle class, working people, single moms, blue-collar workers, union workers, and the elderly on fixed incomes, all getting punished by the socialist Biden price hikes and the socialist Biden energy crisis that is completely avoidable. Twin crises that could leave this nation in economic ruin by the end of the summer. Of course, there is also the failure on the baby formula crisis that the president says he didn't even know about until April, which is weird. He missed his favorite flavor and didn't notice. And he didn't know until April, despite his administration being told about it last September. Yes, the invasion of the southern border and every other failed policy. This is what happens when an incompetent, senile, dishonest old man gets installed into the Oval Office. Jilly! Nap time. Right now, there's not an honest or sane person anywhere, who has not thought, what would be happening right now if Donald Trump was still president? Do you think the national gas average would be ready to eclipse $5 in every state? Do you think 15,000 illegals would be preparing to run across the U.S. border? Do you think Russia would have ever dared to invade Ukraine? Would we be sending Ukraine more than $50 billion and refusing to harden our own schools at home to put more police on campus to protect our kids from violent lunatics? These are important questions. Would we be begging Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, and others to produce more oil when we destroyed our own energy independence? Would that be happening? Would Iran be getting ready to become a nuclear-armed nation? Would the secretaries of energy, commerce, transportation, and labor all be utterly incompetent and unable to give a coherent answer on how to fix America's problems? Any of them. To answer every one of those questions, of course, you would have to say no. The mainstream media has finally jumped off that sinking ship that is the failed presidency of Joe Biden. But that is only because they know the real approval numbers for Biden are in the 30s. And the biggest problem right now for the left is one key demographic is flinging huge numbers, record numbers, to join the Republicans. Hispanic American voters are leaving Democrats in record numbers that are sure to change the election, not just this year, but for generations to come. You see, they still believe in America and the American dream. And they don't like what they see from Joe Biden. They don't like socialism at all. Many have firsthand experience. I wonder if that will be part of the hard-hitting interview and the questions put up by late-night clown Jimmy Kimmel. I think you can probably guess that answer. So I want to begin today with looking at how the networks are dealing with Joe Biden now and how he's fallen out of favor, believe it or not. Fallen out of favor. I mean, Americans know who to blame. It's not Vladimir Putin. It's not Trump. It's Joe Biden's fault, and people will vote accordingly. That according to NBC News, of all people. Listen to this.
The fact that we are seeing gas prices impact people's pocketbooks so much right now, would that change how you're considering voting for the next election, whether it's congressional later this year or presidential a couple of years down the road?
Definitely. I just know that one administration had cheaper gas, and this administration has more expensive gas.
And this is a bottom line, strictly financial conclusion for you.
I mean, it's a housing market. It's everything you previously mentioned.
It's everything. It's everything. Housing market, rent, mortgages, used cars, groceries, the electric bill soon. Because in states like Michigan, where I live, they've shut down a number of coal-fired power plants and just closed a nuclear power plant too. And then they told us, oh, well, we could have rolling blackouts by summer. Oh, nicely done, everyone. Shut down all the power plants and say, oh, well, we're going to replace them, but that'll take years. You should get a bicycle. And you should get a clue. Who put the morons in charge? At CNN, they're also throwing in the wet towel on the Democrats, predicting a record red wave. Listen to this.
I would say they're looking very good from a historical context. So basically, I took the best Republican positions on the generic congressional ballot at this point in midterm cycles since 1938. That generic ballot basically is, would you vote for the generic Republican or generic Democrat in your district? And guess what? Since 1938, the Republican 2-point lead on the generic congressional ballot is the best position for Republicans at this point in any midterm cycle in over 80 years.
Over 80 years. Young man seems a bit excitable, but he's also right. The Democrats have done such a lousy job with, well, everything, that they're going to get punished at the ballot box. And you might have your concerns about the voting and the elections and election fraud, and you should have concerns. If you haven't seen 2,000 Mules, you should go watch the movie. And watch the movie What is a Woman, just for sport as well. Because these are the things that are clearly coming to the surface for voters in America. But I will tell you this, even if you have questions about the elections and election fraud and all of these things, you don't win by sitting home. America does not win by you surrendering. You must vote. You must take your friends to vote. You must become involved in the election process, be an observer, be a poll challenger, run for a local office, whatever it takes. I'll continue this in a moment. This is The Steve Gruber Show.